Hi guys! Today we're going to look at how we can add a bit more personality to a character by playing random animations after they've been left idle for a period of time. Okay, we're going to start with this scene that has a character that starts off in an idle state. From this state the character can run, or it can jump. We've covered how to create this scene in the earlier videos of our 3D platformer series, so take a look if you want to know how it was done. Alternatively, you can download this project by supporting us on Patreon. All the relevant links can be found in the description. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is get some animations to play when the character is bored. For this, we're going to head over to Mixamo.com. First of all, we'll go to the Characters tab and select the character we've been using called Doozy. Then we'll go to the Animations tab. We'll search for Bored. We'll select this one and download it. We need to remember to select FBX for Unity and without skin to just download the animation. We'll download this to the Animations folder in our project. To make it more interesting, we'll download a couple more animations. We'll search for Offensive Idol and download this one. Then we'll search for Shuffling and download this one. Back in Unity, we need to change some of the settings on the animations. We'll navigate to the Animations folder in the Assets panel. We'll select one of the new animations and go to the Rig tab in the Inspector. We'll change the animation type to Humanoid. For avatar definition, we'll select Copy from Other Avatar and choose the character avatar as the source. We'll click Apply to save the changes. Then we'll go to the Animation tab. We'll click Loop Time and Loop Pose to have the animation loop forever. As we don't want the animation to affect the position or rotation of the character, we'll bake all the transforms into the pose. We'll also set all the based upon values to original to use the original values in the animation. If any of this seems unfamiliar, then take a look at our video on root motion, where this is covered in more detail. We'll click Apply to save the changes. Then we'll do the same for the other board animations. Next, we'll go to the Character Animator to look at how we can fit these new animations in. We could create a new state for each one, but then we'd have to add transitions from all these states to running and jumping, and it would end up looking something like this. This is not the easiest to maintain, so what we're going to do is use a blend tree instead. We'll right-click on the idle state and click Create New Blend Tree in State. This will convert the state to a blend tree. We'll rename this state to give it the more generic name of idle. Then we'll double-click to open it up. Usually a blend tree is used for blending similar animations such as walking and running. Here we're going to use it to blend between the different idle animations. We'll click on the blend tree and then add 4 motions. We'll set the first one to be the default idle animation. Then we'll add in the 3 board animations. We'll go to the Parameters tab to add a parameter for controlling which animation is playing. We'll click the plus button and add a new float parameter. We'll name this board animation. Then in the inspector, we'll select this new parameter. The blend tree will blend between the different animations based on the value of this parameter and the thresholds set. If any of this seems unfamiliar, then take a look at our video on blend trees, where this is covered in more detail. We'll deselect Automate Thresholds so that we can set them manually. We'll set the thresholds from 0 to 3. Let's press play in the preview to see how this will work. When the parameter is at 0, the default idle animation will play. If we set this to 1, then the first board animation will play. If we set it to 2, the second will play. And if we set it to 3, the third will play. Now we need a way to control the setting of this value. To do this, we're going to add a behaviour script to the state. We'll go back up to the base layer and select the idle state. Then we'll click on Add Behaviour and create a new script. We'll name this Board Behaviour. We'll go to the root in the Assets panel and drag this into the Scripts folder. Then we'll double-click the script to open it in the editor. There are various methods in here that we can use, but we're just going to need onStateEnter, which is called when the animation state starts, and onStateUpdate, which is called every frame when we're in this state. We'll create a private float field for the time until board. We'll make this serializable so that it can be set in the inspector. Then we'll add a private serializable int field for the number of board animations we have. To keep track of whether the character is currently bored, we'll add a Boolean field named isBored. To know whether the character has been idle for long enough to become bored, we'll add a float field to store how long the character's been idle. Then we'll go to the update method and check that we aren't currently bored. If we aren't, then we'll increase the idle time by time.deltaTime. Next, we'll check if the character has been idle for long enough to become bored. If it has, we'll first set isBored to true. Then we need to choose one of the board animations to set. To do this, we'll generate a random number within a range. We'll set the minimum value to 1 and the maximum value to the number of animations plus 1. We need to plus 1 as the maximum value we pass into the range is not included. Now we can set the value of the animator parameter. This will set the blend tree to play the random board animation. Next, we need to switch back to the normal idle animation after the board animation has finished. We can do this by adding an else-if statement. In here, we'll use the state info to check the normalized time of the animation. This will let us know how far through the animation we are. 0 would indicate the start of the animation and 1 would indicate the end. As the animation is looping though, the value will go up to 2 at the end of the second loop and 3 at the end of the third. To find if we're towards the end of a loop, we can do modulus 1. This will divide the value by 1 and return the remainder. If this remainder is greater than 0.98, then we know we're near the end of one of the board animation loops. If this is the case, we want to reset back to the default idle animation. We'll create a method to reset everything. We'll take the animator as a parameter. In here, we'll set isBored back to false, idle time back to 0, and we'll set the animator parameter back to 0 to go back to the default idle animation. We'll call this method from our else-if statement. We'll also call it from onStateEnter to reset everything whenever we enter the idle state. Let's save this and switch back to Unity. We'll set time until board to 3 seconds. And we'll set the number of board animations to 3. Let's press play to try this out. If we wait, we'll see the different board animations playing at random. Now we have the basics working, but we need to improve the transitions as they're really noticeable at the moment. Let's stop the game and switch back to the script to do this. First of all, we'll change it to only switch to the board animation if we're at the beginning of the animation. This will stop us going into the board animation partway through and will look much better. We'll add a condition to check the normalized time again. This time, we'll check if we're near the beginning of a loop by checking if the remainder is less than 0.02. Next, we want to smooth out the transitions between the different animations. We'll create a field to store the animation we want to transition to. We'll set this to the random number that we generate. Then, rather than setting the animation instantly, we'll move this line to the bottom of the method. We'll set it to transition to the number stored in the field. Then we can use the damping functionality of this method to move to this value gradually, frame by frame. We'll set it to take 0.2 seconds to transition. And we need to pass in time.delta time for the damper. In the reset method, we'll remove the line that sets the animation parameter back to 0. And we'll just set the field to 0 instead. Then, in the update method, it will gradually transition back to this value. We can remove the animator parameter from this method now, as it's no longer needed. Let's save the script and switch back to Unity to try this out. We'll wait for the character to get bored again. Now the transitions are smoother and the board animation always starts at the beginning. You may notice that some of the transitions still look a bit strange. Let's stop the game and go back to the animator to look at why this is. We'll go to the blend tree and set it to the last animation. From here, it has to transition through all the animations back to the default idle. That's why, when it transitions, we see a little bit of each one and it makes the transition more noticeable. To fix this, we're going to add a motion between each of the board animations. We'll set these to the default idle animation. Now each board animation can transition directly to the default idle animation. We need to make some changes to our script to support this. To get the right board animation, we now need to multiply our random number by 2 and minus 1. After we've chosen the random animation, we'll set the animation parameter to the closest default idle animation. We can do this by setting the animation parameter to be our desired animation minus 1. This will instantly set it to the closest default idle animation and will allow it to smoothly transition without passing over any other animations. We also need to change the reset method. We can't just set the animation number back to 0, as that will transition through all the animations. We just want to set it back to the closest default idle animation. To do this, we'll check if the character is currently bored. If this is the case, we'll subtract 1 from the animation number to go back to the previous default idle animation. Let's save the script and switch back to Unity to try this out. We'll wait for the character to get bored again. This time the transition looks much better. We'll wait for another one to be sure. This one looks good as well. Okay, that covers everything for this video. A big thank you to all our patrons, we really appreciate you helping to support the channel. If you'd like to help and also get access to the source code, you can find details in the description. Please leave any questions or feedback in the comments, and subscribe and click the bell icon so you don't miss the next one. Thanks guys!